Today is Monday morning, exactly 6:30 a.m., and I got sent these documents that were filed on Friday by Onision, and we're going to go through this and dissect this because this is what I really wanted to do in my last video, but it just really wasn't that juicy. So what you're looking at here is the first page of 16 different pages of a filing that Onision filed. Defendants James Jackson and Lucas respectfully requested the court impose sanctions against the plaintiff Sarah for engaging in harassing and malicious conduct, including making inappropriate direct contact with defendant James Jackson in violation of the legal protocols. Sarah's behavior, including but not limited to her direct contact with the defendant James Jackson in a hostile manner, are inappropriate, malicious, and warrants immediate court intervention. Now, this is funny to me because what he's trying to do is preposterous, and I'm going to explain to you why a judge is going to throw this out when we get further into this. Sarah's harassing conduct includes calling defendant James at 6:39 a.m. on August 7th, 2024, where she wished harm to him, specifically stating that cancer would eat his ding-dong off, among other unacceptable and bad remarks. Sarah's direct malicious contact and direct harassment violates the fundamental legal principles that a plaintiff should communicate with the defendant only through counsel once litigation has begun. Exhibit 1 includes the full transcript of the call. The following is a screenshot, blah, 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 and her phone number. On the latter part of the call was recorded because Sarah called at an inappropriate hour, waking James up from a state of rest. Due to the abruptness of this situation, it took time for James to locate his device to record Sarah's unlawful, harassing, and malicious statements. Under the Washington state law, RCW 9730321, one-party consent is permitted for recording conversations in situations that involve threats, extortion, blackmail, or bodily, other unlawful requests, blah, blah, blah. So I actually have to, I don't like saying this, but I have to be objective here. This is a real RCW code in the state of Washington, and if somebody is making threats to you or trying to extort you, this is a little hole. You can record somebody without their consent on a phone call. I've done this myself. I had to do it for myself at one point due to legal issues, and if somebody this is a valid RCW, but given the context of a phone call, and the time that he submitted this document months later, I'm like 95% sure and confident that this is going to get thrown out, and I'll explain to you why here. Sarah's call, which involved clear harassment and horrible language, falls under direct of these exceptions. Her threatening and malicious behavior, including wishing cancer upon James, justifies the recording. This recording not only exposes Sarah's bad faith and malice, but also calls into question the integrity of her entire lawsuit, further validating the defendant's claims about Sarah's fraudulent and criminal behavior. Now, again, I have to be objective here. I don't know why Sarah called him on August 7th, 2024. I don't know if Sarah's lawyer knew that. I don't know. But I can say is that was a very stupid thing to do. When you are suing somebody, when there is an ongoing lawsuit, the worst thing that you can do is contact the person that you're suing. I don't care if that's through your phone. I don't care if that's through email. Now, I'm not putting Sarah on blast here, but I'm being objective, and I know a lot of people just want me to only focus on Onision, and that's fine, but I'm not going to do that because I've dealt with my own legal issue. I had to dealt with a lawsuit. There was a settlement. That's all I can say, and I know how this stuff works now. I have a really big understanding of how the judiciary loopholes and the little things that you can do and get away with. And the things that you shouldn't do. And one of the things is your lawyer will always tell you, don't contact the person that you're suing. Just don't do it. Unless you have like your attorney's consent, but even then, a good attorney wouldn't ask you to contact, right, the person that you're suing. It's just very, very dumb. By bringing this to the court's attention, the recording demonstrates Sarah's deeply malicious nature, which is essential for the courts to consider. Additionally, Sarah's profane behavior and severe lack of ethics and integrity, disregard for basic human decency, and complete lack of respect for the law, self-evident through her own repeated and public admissions. Now, this particular part is hilarious to me. And let me explain to you why. He has some tweets here. I blurred the words because YouTube is just crazy sometimes, but it's she says, I did snow, use it against me. I sold prescription, use it against me. Greg and I, in New Mexico, use it against me. Naturally, Greg's dumb. He's going to try to use this in court. Now, the funny thing is, a judge, I should say a good judge, and most of them are pretty good, depending on which judge. At least the judges in Washington state, I don't know if this is going to get transferred to California. I don't know if this is going to stay in Washington at this point. If you saw my last video going through the judicial process where certain filings weren't done properly, I don't know what's going to happen, okay? I'm not going to try to speculate and try to make predictions that I don't know. What I do know, and I'm going to make a prediction here, even though I just said I wouldn't, this particular part, the judge doesn't give a shit about, Greg. Let me explain to you why. The judge doesn't care about past tweets that she made back in 2019 that she did snow. You're trying to use this in court as a means of, like, look at her ethics and integrity. She did snow once or snow a few times. Whoop-de-doo. A lot of people have, bro. A lot of people have. And you know what? Just because you've tried something, regardless of the substance, doesn't make you a terrible person. I know in your small little pea brain, that's how you interpret things. That people who do the devil's lettuce, people who probably take maybe even medication for anxiety or depression, I don't know what your personal views are, but I do know is that you put everybody into a bubble that does anything that is just wrong in your eyes. And if doing the devil's lettuce is wrong in your eyes, why wouldn't you use this, right? The judge isn't going to care. The judge does not care about this. This is going to be completely, this part of this page is just going to be laughed at because of the fact that it has no relevance to the actual ongoing lawsuit. This has no connection to the, so you included this phone part of her apparently harassing you or whatever. This has no correlation with those tweets. Maybe in your brain it does, but it doesn't. The judge wants to deal with the lawsuits and the claims made in the lawsuit, and that's what's going to be dealt with. And you're going to be able to have your, time to respond and refute to rebuke those types of things in court because you're representing yourself, and that's fine. But what you're doing here just shows me how little understanding you have of the law, because you're including tweets that have served no relevancy to the actual lawsuit at hand. Okay, she did snow once, so what? What's the judge going to say to that? Oh, young lady Sarah, did you do snow once back in 2019? It looks like you posted on Twitter that you did this. You bad girl. Like, no. Like, a judge doesn't care. The only thing they're going to care about is the claims made in the lawsuit, and that's what they're going to address. And then you're going to be able to respond to that accordingly. But this fundamentally shows that you are so out of your league game and that you don't know what the hell you're doing. And it is funny to me. It's funny to me that you don't know what you're doing. Sarah openly admits to and apologized to James for what she did to him, and early establishing her apologies were not sarcastic, as she is now baselessly claims. You're going to have a hard time in court proving that something is sarcastic or isn't sarcastic. You can argue semantics all day with a judge, but they really don't at the end of the day care about these things. I want to go back to the first page though, okay, where he claims that Sarah wished that he would have cancer would eat his ding dong. Here's the thing about that. That statement in of itself, that's freedom of speech. A good judge is going to say that's freedom of speech. Like, she has the freedom to say that. Like, if I'm driving and I roll down my window and somebody cuts me off, I'm allowed to say, I hope you get in a car crash. Or I'm going to run you off the road. Sure, is that a threat? Am I actually going to do it? No. But if that person goes out to the police station and files a harassment order against me, guess what? They're not going to be taken seriously because I didn't actually do anything. It's words, okay? It's words. Now, unless the person's like, there is a limit with what things that you can say, but like this in of itself, I hope that cancer eats your pickle off. Yeah, that's freedom of speech, and it's going to be defended as that, and it's going to be dismissed as. And the other thing is that you have to understand, Greg, is that the judge is going to ask you, I almost guarantee you, if he even looks over this and reads this and addresses this, he may or may not, I don't know. Why did you file this anti-harassment order, right? Malicious harassment order months later? Because that's what happened to me. you know, legally, this is what happened to me. Like if you truly felt threatened on August 7th by that phone call from Sarah, the moment that happened, you should have filed this. Okay. You know, you asked that the judge for legal advice. I'm actually giving you legal advice right now, but it's too late for that because you already screwed up. You should have filed, if you felt threatened and you felt harassed, you should have filed this harassment right then and there on August 7th, but you didn't. You didn't do it the following weekend, and the judge most likely is going to ask you, Greg, James, why didn't you file this if you felt so threatened 4 months ago, 3 months ago? You see, judges look at that stuff. And from my interpretation, how a judge may interpret this is he's going to say, well, you know, you're filing this months later after now we're in court. And all I see this as a way is to just make the process longer and just be another hurdle that they have to go through in the court system. Because if you file these frivolous filings on somebody, they're going to have to be addressed at some point, thus just postponing the lawsuit and just making it more complicated because you have to get these things dismissed or looked at or whatever. And it just makes it more complicated. And the judge isn't going to take this seriously. Because again, you didn't file it when it needed to be filed. And that's if you felt threatened, you do it right then and there. Don't wait months and months and months and then file something as a means of retaliation against somebody who's suing you. Okay, I dealt with this myself personally, so I know all about it. This motion was not filed today because the hearing had already been scheduled for a now paused motion to dismiss. However, given that there's been no new hearing scheduled and the urgent nature of this matter, it is imperative that the court address this motion to ensure the safety of the Jacksons family. Dude, you are this is such a load of shit. It doesn't work this way. I just explained this. The Jacksons have firsthand knowledge of Sarah's alarming admissions, which include on February 17, 2023, Sarah admitted during a phone conversation they had responded to accusations of transmitting by sitting outside. Okay, first of all, on her spot, Sarah was revealed that if men from Michigan began disappearing, it would be her fault, as her dream job was to be a slicer of men. The statement made during the phone conversation with Lucas and James just before the Jacksons realized Sarah was planning to litigate against them. The Jacksons were in communication with Sarah for the intent to gather information about a woman named Regina, a former of Sarah's who had business basis claims against the Jacksons, and to further expose Sarah's own fraudulent behavior. For years, Sarah had engaged with malicious defamation and dehumanization of the Jacksons. In these recent conversations, Sarah described Regina's pending case against the Jacksons as BS, emphasizing that Regina was a complete fraud. Sarah's statements are supported by Regina's own admission that her own with Regina claimed homelessness. Lucas refused. I don't really know much about the Regina situation, so I can't really comment on that. I'm telling you right here, you mentioning a statement that Sarah's admission to a phone conversation of transmitting an ST letter D, judge isn't going to care. Sorry, judge isn't going to care. This serves no relevancy. This has nothing to do with you specifically. She's telling you information about what she did or didn't do, whether it's real or not. I don't know, not my business. But that serves no relevancy to the actual case. I know what you're trying to do here. You're trying to paint the person as malicious or whatever, and sure, you can try to do that. But again, it serves it doesn't give context to what you're being accused of in the lawsuit. Okay. You can, these types of legal cases, sure, you can try to use things against other people, but unless it's specifically pertaining to the lawsuit, the judge isn't going to care. Or I could be wrong on this. Okay, I want to stay for the record. I could be wrong. Maybe the judge will care. But if he's a good judge, he won't, because it doesn't serve with the factual information of the lawsuit accusations or the allegations. And that's what courts want to deal with. They don't want to deal with this. She said this 5 years ago, or she made a tweet about snow 2019. A judge doesn't care. Do you get that? Do you understand? Do you understand that, Greg? No, of course you don't, because you don't. This is why you're representing yourself pro se like a moron. Like a moron. This is so terrible. You're so dumb, man. You're the dumbest mofo ever. It is important that note on October 1st, 2021, Lisa, Sarah's attorney, while consistently attempting to extort James Jackson, made it clear that Regina was the primary contact driving this case. Haba herself had limited communication with Sarah, something that Sarah's own disengaged attitude corroborates. On August 7, 2024, Sarah went so far to claim that the lawsuit does not exist, demonstrating how just uninvolved, unaffected, and uninterested she is in the litigation, according to her own words. To support the recorded event where Sarah confessed to wishing that she was a serial, blah, 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 Sarah proclaiming that she hates men and wants to make a specific man emotionally suffer after this conversation Sarah had with Lucas long before Lucas rejected Sarah for the final time. Sarah's contact statement is proclaiming she wishes that she wants to be I'm not going to say those words. For though these reasons to be more stated, the motion cannot be relayed any further. As the Jackson's family remain at risk, Sarah having recently told James Jackson that she hopes that James suffers from deadly diseases. Oh my God, I'm sorry. This is funny. And the court immediate intervention is necessary to prevent further mental and emotional and possible physical harm. Bro, again, this falls under freedom of speech. Jurisdictional disclaimer. By submitting this motion, neither James Jackson nor Lucas is subjectified to the jurisdictions of California. Motion is submitted solely for the just immediate urgent sanctions of the plaintiff Sarah and the improper malicious conduct, preserving defendant's challenge to California jurisdiction. So if you didn't watch my last video, we're in this weird limbo stage of where like the case is going to be transferred to Washington state judge, that the judge that we dealt with in the Zoom call, or it's going to be transferred to a California. And I don't know, because the cases are similar and there needs to be consolidation, which there's two overlapping cases that need to be blended together. And it's really complicated and just convoluted. And yeah, actual background. Okay. Facts. Those are important, Greg. Facts. Mr. Fax Machine over here. Sarah's contacted defendant, blah, 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 phone number where she engaged in excessively hostile and abnormal behavior. The call included Sarah. You have a spelling error. Might want to recheck that. Repeatedly menacingly laughed at James, yelling at him, denying the existence of a lawsuit. She filed, repeatedly calling James a name, telling Jackson that it was impossible for him to be ARD, S.A., mostly disturbing, wishing harm upon him, saying that she hoped his cancer would eat his pickle. Her quotes are directly, "You are so old and disgusting, and I hope that skin cancer comes back." Skin cancer. This harassing phone call was not solicited by defendant James Jackson and violated legal protocols by circumventing her legal representation. Again, I got to be objective. This conversation, the phone conversation did happen, and it was very stupid to do. Hopefully, you didn't shoot yourself in the foot there from contacting somebody. I don't know. Again, I don't know the relationship between the attorney and Sarah. I don't know how strong or little that is. I don't know. But James, look at the underscore. James is a two-time Why am I laughing? This dude, I'm going to hell. Look, my dad beat stage 2 pancreatic cancer, and my dad also has been diagnosed with anemic degenerative brain disease as the last few months. Why am I telling the internet this? I don't know. But like, you gotta laugh in these types of situations. James, you're in a 2-time skin cancer survivor. Wow. It's a shame it hasn't hit you all the way through yet. Is that bad? I'm not wishing cancer. I'm just like, it's a shame it hasn't come back, because like, you're still here. You could go through another fight, right? You did it. You beat it twice. You can beat it a third time. I believe you're strong, Greg. You're a strong man. You can do it. I believe in you. It's being sarcastic, okay? He suffered cancer from both his face and scalp, which he had just announced publicly for the first time hours before Sarah called him to wish for his cancer to destroy his body. This deserves emphasis. Hours after James Jackson publicly announced that he survived 2 different diagnoses of skin cancer, Sarah called him to let him know that she hopes the skin cancer comes back. Okay, this is day 2. Today is Tuesday. I just got back from work. I had to work at 1 a.m., so I'm really tired. But this is the last part of the anti-harassment order. What we're looking at here. This is page 14. And then there's this page 15. And then there's page 16 right here. I'm just putting all 3 of these here so you can just see them. And they're on screen. Pause it, read it. I don't know. But one of the reasons I wanted to show these last final pages is because this is the transcript call of the phone conversation, which is not even the full transcript completely. Which I'm not sure if that really is relevant or not, if the full transcript's in there, but, it's leaving certain context out of stuff. But most of the reason that I'm showing this, right, is because primarily is this transcription that Onision has done here for the judge is wrong. Which, this is why you don't do things pro se, like an idiot. When you're doing transcribing, you transcribe, okay? And you're putting in actual interpretation with the green text inside the transcription. And a judge, as far as I'm aware, is going to just not even read this or dismiss it completely because it's not formatted properly. In court, things have to be formatted accordingly, okay? And you putting this green text in for like interpretation, or James was 33 in January of 2019 when Sarah extorted him with threats to destroy his life. Stop, okay? That's what all the other previous pages of the legal document of the harassment order is there for. So all this transcription that you did, the smart thing would have actually been to hire a transcriber, which they're not that expensive to hire, just to transcribe audio and format it in a way. I actually had to have audio transcribed in one of my legal cases, and this is just not how you do it. This isn't how you do it. It's wrong. It's not formatted correctly for legal reasons, and because of that, you wasted your time. But that's what you're good at. You're good at wasting people's time. And overall, this whole phone conversation, I've listened to it. It's a little odd. It's a little weird. As I said in the start of this video, I do think it's weird that this individual contacted Onision, especially when there's civil litigation happening. Was not a good choice, but I don't know. Maybe it was planned. Maybe this was a setup for something. I don't know. And I'm also not going to sit here on camera and lie to people and say Onision's going to go down, because I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen with this. This is a federal lawsuit, and for those of you who don't know what he's being sued for, he is being sued, being sued for sex. I can't say that word on YouTube without the video getting age restricted. It's a 3-letter word, sex, trafficking, which is a pretty huge allegation if you ask me, because if you know Onision's past with certain particular people, you would know that he did fly some people, one out of Canada, one into America when they were underage. That happened. Now, as far as legalities go, I don't know how that works with the statute of limitations. I don't know. I'm not a professional. That's for the lawyers to figure out. But what the main gist of this lawsuit, and Sarah's accusations and allegations are in there too, which a lot of crazy stuff happened with that situation. But the biggest brunt of it, in my personal opinion, the most interesting thing to me is that aspect, is the trafficking aspect. And because that's a huge thing, right? And my honest opinion at this stage is I'm doubtful anything is going to come of it, even though I want it to. I want something to happen. But I don't know if it will, because the legal system is weird, man. You know, it kind of favors, and in my own personal experience, when you really want justice, justice isn't often served in the legal system. And I'm saying this as somebody who went through my own legal issue. Justice was not, I got justice, but not as much as I wanted. And for what was done to me, for what was done for thousands of other people in the world, in a lot of these cases, things just don't go the way that you want them to go. Because there are legal loopholes, and there's things that you can do to screw up investigations. There's things you can do to delay the process. As you guys know, Onision filed for bankruptcy. And one of the problems with bankruptcy, well, the lawsuit's federal, as far as I'm aware, that he's being sued, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it's a federal lawsuit, which is a little bit different. But I went through a civil lawsuit, and when somebody bankruptcy in general is a federal thing. So when you file a bankruptcy claim, it puts all the other cases, civil, anything below federal, on like a hold. It's called stay. So one of the loopholes that a lot of people do when they're being sued, doesn't matter what the claim is they file bankruptcy, because that puts a whole like pause on everything, because bankruptcy trumps certain judiciary processes other versus like if you're being sued and then you file for bankruptcy, the bankruptcy stuff has to be addressed first. as far as I'm aware, at least from a civil standpoint. I don't know about federal. If you have a federal lawsuit and then you have a federal, I don't know. I don't know the specifics, but what I do know is that's the main gist of the lawsuit, along with Sarah's claims. What's going to happen to this, I don't know. Please stop asking me what I think, because at the end of the day, I'm only covering this as it comes, okay? And I'm going to keep covering this because this is the most interesting legal case I think I've ever seen, primarily because it's about somebody who I've talked about and exposed, and for years now, literally years I've been doing this, and this could be the hammer in the coffin. It may not be. I don't know. But I'd love to see justice, because he did some real creepy weirdo shit on this platform. There's a reason why his channel is completely demonetized, because he did weird stuff, right? If you've watched my previous videos, you know he did weird things with people's photos on his website forums, and he rated people's bodies, specifically minors. That's weird. That's uncomfortable. That would be borderline, like, anybody doing that is a creep. There's, you know, but like, you can't, what can you do, honestly, other than just talk about and expose that type of weird behavior? Not much. So what's going to happen? I don't know. But yeah, that's all we have right now. The next legal thing is I think it's October 17th. And depending on what actually happens with that, I may or may not cover it. I don't know, but this is what we have right now. If Onision makes another crazy filing, I'll talk about it. So yeah, I just want to say thank you guys for watching my last two videos. Very much appreciated. And all my links are linked down below in the description. I still do use social media, though I'm really active on Instagram. Primarily is my main activity social media profile, and Twitter, but Instagram is like, I'm always posting memes and stuff on there. So if you want to know what I'm doing in my personal life, check out my Instagram. It's linked down below in my all my links URL. And yeah, thank you for watching. I gotta go I need to go take a nap. That's what I need to do, is I need to take a nap because I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I work a 9-to-5 job now, so YouTube is not my priority. But you know what? When I have some free time, like after I got off today from work, I want to cover this. Why not, right? I've done this for how long? So why not continue it until it's finished? I don't know. Peace out, guys. Cheers.